Hi guys, it's Joel Dick, and I think it's time we talk about motivation in filmmaking, because that's something that I've been struggling with recently. Maybe it's just the cold weather outside, or maybe it's just this time of year when it gets a little darker out. But I think a lot of filmmakers also struggle with motivation when it comes to just starting a project. And I think I know one of the reasons why. I think it has to do with failure. So I just wanted to change your perspective on failure and what it means, especially as a filmmaker, because I think there's this stigma toward, I can't do this project. It's gonna take too long. The idea isn't good enough. We need to take a little longer. And I see a lot of these excuses, and it's not from just other people or seeing other people's work. It's seeing the excuses that I make whenever I try to do projects sometimes. At the end of the day, I think a lot of those excuses come from a fear of failure. I think it's a really big problem that plagues a lot of creative people. Most of the great thinkers and inventors of the past have always seen failure not really as a problem, but as a necessity to getting to their goals. Something that I think has lost some meaning nowadays. When I think back to all of my past videos, short films, feature films, I've been doing this for over 10 years now, and I think of all those projects I've done in the past, and from a monetary perspective, how many of them have been successes? Zero. In the end, it's a goose egg. None of them. And at times that can really be disheartening. I think it also begs the question, how long does it take to be successful in filmmaking? And the answer is a long time. Most people in most professions will tell you it takes 10,000 hours to fully master a skill. 10,000 hours. How much failure does it take to get to that level of skill in filmmaking? I just really want you to think about that, because when you really consider how difficult it used to be as a filmmaker, I think we lose sight of how good we have it nowadays with the equipment that we have, with how cheaply we can make even a feature film. When Dan started to promote the 12 Features project, a lot of people were concerned. They were concerned that we were making the films as quickly as we were. And I get the concern, because when you think of the way films have been made in the past, you think of the whole package. Huge budget, script, pre-production, huge on-set crew, find all the actors auditions, many locations, editing time, color correction. That whole process takes a lot of time. And so when you think people doing these films so quickly, there's no way it can succeed. But the question becomes, what do you want to succeed at? If the goal is to make feature films, the only way to get better is by making feature films. It might be a strategy that is unconventional, but these times are unconventional for filmmakers. There has never been a time where you could do what we can do now. So when you're thinking, I don't think I should keep going, the fear of failure cannot be what stops you. So the next time you think you don't want to start a project because it might not succeed the way you want it to succeed, you have to consider failure as not only being a necessity, but a rite of passage. The great innovators and creatives of the past always saw failure as the next step. Steve Jobs, Thomas Edison, athletes, the amount of failure that they go through on a daily basis is astronomical. You think of a basketball player, how many shots do they miss? They miss loads. But it's that endurance, it's that perseverance that allows them to stand on top. Dan and I were recently discussing how the filmmakers that will most likely succeed are just the ones that'll just stick around the longest. I know it's hard to consider the next film, the next big project that you're really excited about producing as being a failure. But I'm sorry to say that it probably will be. And that's not bad. That is the only thing you can do to get better. And when I think of the last 10 years of my filmmaking journey, I don't see them as failures. I see them as the necessary steps for me to get to my skill level right now. I would hope that filmmakers that are watching this would see it the same way, because you're not going to be the greatest unless you conquer failure. And the only way to conquer failure is by just going and going and going as many times as it takes. not giving up. I think this applies to not just filmmaking, but filmmaking especially is an area where people tend to take failure very hard and quit. I know a lot of my friends that were interested and now don't do it anymore, and a lot of people that I've seen even online do a lot of cool projects and just stop. It really does take an extraordinary person to deal with the types of failure that you're going to encounter as a filmmaker. And when you create a product that is feature length, it even takes more time. I know what failure feels like. I know what failure looks like because I've shot some failures in my time. But what I do know also is that you don't know when you're going to succeed. What do I mean by that? You don't know when you are about to get that big break that's going to allow you to make films for the rest of your life. And so that means that any failure that you allow to take you out of the game could be a week, month, a year away from your success. Thomas Edison once said, "Many of life's failures are men who did not realize how close they were to success when they gave up." So just don't quit. It's worthwhile. Failure is just the next step. And Dan and I are going to keep failing because that's what it takes. That's the mentality that it takes to keep going. So I hope you guys do the same and don't let it get you down. You can do it. So we've said it a lot on this channel before, but we are now currently in the 12 features in 12 months. It started last September. We are producing 12 features, 12 months. So if you want to keep up with that, I encourage you to subscribe down below. Give me a comment. What is a failure you have gone through and how has it taught you to be better at what you do? Fail on.